Morning, wake up 1320 WILS. In the wake of, I guess you could say, of any of these mass shootings that we've seen, whether they're terror related or not, there's always an additional question. Was the shooter facing some kind of major mental health issue? What were the warning signs? Did anybody know about it? Why can't they stop mentally ill people from getting guns, owning guns, et cetera, et cetera? Why isn't there anything in place? The answer is there are things in place, but do they apply here? Do they apply in this instance, or is this misapplied based on what happened and what we know about the facts in Orlando, Florida? Let's visit this morning with gun law analyst Edwin Walker and find out. Edwin, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you being here. Okay, so what you know about Omar Mateen, 29 years of age. When we heard his ex-wife say, he was mentally unstable, he was abusive, that was her, non-professional, but certainly up close and personal eyewitness feeling about his demeanor, his outlook, and his psychology. What's your take on what you've read so far?
Well, generally, you have to, anybody who is willing to take the life of another person clearly has mental issues. So you could say that every single person who commits a crime has mental issues and should have, that should have been detected somewhere along the way. And whether it's you believe you have the right to take other people's property and use a gun to do it, or you have the right to take people's lives, that's a mental issue. Now, with regard to mental issues that actually rise to the level of being disqualifications to purchase firearms, the law says that there has to be an adjudication where there has to be an impartial fact finder who has determined that somebody is legally mentally deficient in that they have been, declared criminally insane, they have been involuntarily committed to a mental institution, or they have been, given a guardianship because they cannot manage their own affairs. Now, those are three types of mental adjudication that will prevent somebody from buying a firearm. So,
do those apply across the board, Edwin, across all the 50 states?
Yes, that's federal law.
Okay.
And so, in the event that somebody, a family member, believes that they have an individual who does not have the capacity, the mental capacity, that they present a danger to themselves or others, then they have to make the authorities aware of that. Otherwise, these mental issues will go undetected. And certainly, even if they are detected, the individual has a right to due process before they are able to have their rights taken away.
So, we've seen cases here through political correctness where people, in the case of San Bernardino, we didn't want to say anything. We didn't want to make people think we were profiling. There may be others in family who say, I don't want to contribute to stigma with mental health, so I just won't say anything. I could be wrong. And yet you could also be saving lives, too, in the process and let the system play through. Is that one way to look at it? Is that fair, or is that jumping too far?
Well, no. That's what, in hindsight, everything is 20/20. And unfortunately, we don't have the gift of foresight to see whether or not somebody is just simply being depressed for a very limited period of time and all they need is a prescription, versus somebody who truly has their brain wired in a way that they believe that it's acceptable to take the lives of other people. And, unfortunately, that is something that is totally dependent upon the circumstance.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
That's why the law says that there has to be an adjudication after a period of due process before we're going to take away somebody's right to purchase a firearm.
Because I think it's fair to say that you can be completely in your faculties. You can have no mental health issues whatsoever. But because of a certain ideology, you decide that ideology trumps everything, and you have to follow through on it. And that could cause you to kill. It doesn't mean that you have an actual verifiable, diagnosable mental illness. It means that you've just, politically, and maybe through religion, through your faith, you've gone the ultimate step. But that doesn't mean you have necessarily a mental illness, does it?
Well, and that's the real issue. That's where I think that this tragedy leads us to, is making this, determining what we need to look at. We don't need to look at what type of tool that this person used, and somehow there's something wrong with the tool, or there's something wrong with lawful individuals' ability to get the tool. in particular, a tool to defend themselves against these type of people. But we have to look at the fact that there is a political or religious philosophy out there in the world that wants to kill Americans, and what people need to realize, they want to kill Americans of all stripes. They do not care if you're an American who is a Republican or a Democrat or gay or straight or goes to church every Sunday or goes to the clubs on Saturday nights. They still want to kill you with equal ferocity.
Well, and you use
the
word they, and yeah, you use the word they, and but I mean in this instance, I mean, unfortunate to say, from what we know now, Edwin, it was they means us in the sense he was a U.S. citizen. This was someone who became radicalized, but wasn't from. May have had parents, but he was born and raised here, but came up with radical beliefs that somehow put him in line and in the perfect place to commit this just act of atrocity.
And we have to look at also what beliefs are radicalized to the point where they believe that taking other people's lives is acceptable. Because a belief is a belief, and here in America you can believe whatever you want. You can believe that that people who go to church are evil, or you can believe that gays are somehow leading to the downfall of society. And it's okay to believe that, but it's not okay to act on that and go out and actually murder innocent people based upon those beliefs.
Yeah, and also not all. Not everything is equal there. I mean, you can have 10 people that believe other than what you've had with gay marriage who do not believe in transgender bathrooms, for example. But you're not going to have 10 people say, yeah, and you need to go out and kill in the name of blank to reverse those. You're not going to find that either. So
that's correct. And so you have to look at the philosophies. What philosophies out there in the world believe that it is acceptable to kill people because of those issues? People who are against transgender bathrooms have never, ever advocated that those people need to be killed. However, there are certain religious beliefs in the world that do advocate that. And so, that is the investigation that we need to have.
Well, Edwin, I don't even know if I agree with that last part, because I bet you can go on social media and find some pretty literally crazy stuff, even from someone who isn't a jihadist, who would say, but you know what, you keep an eye on that person, and you need to take a good close look. There's people out there of all stripes who will advocate for some pretty vile things, but there are others who follow them as a large group, and this clearly appears to be, it looks like what it is, unless we hear otherwise, and so far we haven't. Gun rights and gun law analyst Edwin Walker here. Edwin, where do we find you online?
Yes, you can find our organization. It's called uslawshield.com. It's at uslawshield.com, all one word. And it is an organization it's a legal services company. I'm one of the attorneys with the legal services company that is designed to protect and advocate for people's firearms rights, and in particular, their right to self-defense. All
right, appreciate your viewpoint and those of U.S. Law Shield we've had on the show here before. As always, Edwin Walker, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
More coming up. Morning Wake Up. Don't go away. This is 1320 WILS.